The old wing of St. Mary's Hospital had been abandoned for years. Few knew why it had been shut down, but the staff shared whispers of a tragedy that happened there, a story lost in the shadows of time. But some nights, especially when the moon was hidden, strange things happened on the deserted floor. Nurse Jenna had always been curious. She'd heard the stories about the eerie fourth floor, its dark halls, and the infamous Red Room, but she dismissed them as mere hospital lore. It wasn't until she was assigned a late-night shift that her curiosity got the best of her. The hospital was quiet, with only the occasional beep from a monitor or the distant murmur of nurses. Her break came, and rather than heading to the lounge, she decided to explore. With a flashlight in hand, Jenna took the back stairwell to the fourth floor. The lights flickered as she stepped out, and a chill ran down her spine. She almost turned back but told herself it was just an old, drafty building. The hallway stretched out before her, long and unsettlingly quiet. She noticed the walls had peeling paint and stains that looked too much like blood. As she moved further, a flickering red light appeared at the end of the hall. The infamous Red Room. Her heart raced as she approached, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. Then she saw it. Standing in the middle of the hall was a figure, misshapen and unnaturally pale, with long, greasy hair hanging over its face. It wore what looked like a hospital gown, dirty and torn, clinging to a grotesque form. Its stomach was swollen and distended, while its limbs were spindly and long, almost reaching the floor. Jenna froze, unable to tear her gaze away. The figure raised its head, revealing a face that was barely human, sunken eyes and a mouth twisted in a permanent scream. The creature lurched forward, its movements slow and jagged as if unused to walking. Jenna stepped back, her flashlight flickering, but she couldn't move. Her body felt paralyzed by fear. She noticed something peculiar about the creature's face. There was a faint, familiar resemblance, like she'd seen it before in one of the old hospital photos. The figure came closer, its mouth opening wider, releasing a raspy, guttural moan that echoed through the hall. Jenna's heart pounded in her chest as she finally regained control of her legs, turning and running back down the hall. Behind her, she could hear the creature's uneven footsteps, faster now, echoing closer and closer. She stumbled down the stairwell, the walls seeming to close in on her, shadows twisting and writhing. She reached the ground floor and sprinted into the emergency room, gasping for breath. The lights above flickered, but there was no sign of the creature. No one else seemed to have noticed anything unusual. Nurses moved about, oblivious to the nightmare Jenna had just witnessed. When Jenna shared her encounter with the strange figure on the fourth floor, most of the nurses laughed it off as a product of her imagination. But Nurse Lila, an older nurse with decades at the hospital, took Jenna aside, her expression serious. "What you saw wasn't just a ghost," Lila whispered. She glanced around to ensure no one else was listening, then continued. "That was Nurse Margaret. She worked here back in the 80s. They say she was known for her dedication, always going the extra mile for her patients. But her obsession with patient care became unhealthy." Jenna listened intently as Lila recounted Margaret's story. According to Lila, Margaret's descent into madness began after a patient, a young boy she'd grown attached to, died under her care. She became withdrawn, refusing to leave the hospital. Rumors spread that she started conducting strange experiments on herself, trying to find ways to bring back the dead. One night, during a shift much like Jenna's, Margaret was found in that very hallway, her body twisted and bloated, her face frozen in a terrified expression. It was as if she had seen something unimaginable. The doctors declared it a heart attack, but Lila swore there was more to it. After Margaret's death, the hospital shut down the fourth floor, claiming it was due to structural issues. But those who knew the story believed it was to contain Margaret's spirit. Jenna shivered as Lila finished the tale. "So you see," Lila said, "what you saw wasn't just a ghost. It was Nurse Margaret, forever trapped, searching for the patients she couldn't save."